Episode 8 of The Mandalorian is here. The season finale of Season 1 of The Mandalorian is here. The official synopsis says The Mandalorian comes face to face with an unexpected enemy. As you can see, the new office is still a work in progress. We've been living here for like 2 weeks now. Downstairs is pretty well put together. Upstairs is still a work in progress. I'm hoping to get the green screen hung over the weekend so we can get back into business as usual. So, one of my favorite things in this episode, this entire first season, I love when the show tries to have a sense of humor. I love when there's goofiness in the show. I love the banter. I love the silliness. I love when the episodes take that kind of turn. The beginning of this episode, I just absolutely love the conversation and the attitude between the biker scouts. I love the conversation. They're just like bored soldiers that were on watch and they were tasked to do something that maybe they consider menial. You know, they're just shooting the shit, waiting for orders, standing by. And it was fun. It was a fun moment. It was silly. They start trying to shoot like a can or something like that that's sitting in the sand. Yeah, they can't hit it. They talk about Moff Gideon. They talk about the chain of command. I don't know who these actors are. I don't know, whose voices they are. I haven't looked that up yet. One of them actually sounded like Danny McBride to me. I don't know if that's true. Probably not. But I need to look it up after I record all this audio and check out who it was. But I love that entire opening sequence. It was fun. It was goofy, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. As I said in my previous episode video, kind of expected IG-11 to save the day. It was a little different here than I expected it to be, but he did come and save the day. IG-11 has slowly but surely become one of those just kind of fan favorite droids, at least for me. Before his reprogramming, he was a fun droid to begin with, but after his reprogramming, there's heart there. There's, we kind of feel for this droid. It's kind of interesting how he's done a complete 180 in terms of purpose and personality. He's a nurse now. He's a nurse droid. He's been reprogrammed to do that, and I just love him as a character. There was a lot of information kind of pulled into this episode. I guess that's why it was so long compared to the other episodes. But there was a lot of expository dialogue. There was a lot of kind of, Mandalorian world building and whatnot, kind of telling the audience about the history of Mandalore, about its people, about being a Mandalorian, kind of being more about, an oath, a code, something to live by rather than a race, I suppose. We learned the Mandalorian's real name, which I think was Din Djarin, correct? I think that's how it was pronounced. But yeah, a lot of information packed into this episode, and overall it was a lot of fun. One of my favorite things in the episode was the monologue from Moff Gideon, the Giancarlo Esposito character. He does that thing that's just kind of creepy, well-spoken, nice guy attitude almost, right? Kind of like Gus was in Breaking Bad, I suppose. He was kind of the same attitude, right? Really well-spoken. He'll smile at you as he's screwing you over. He has that kind of, Silence of the Lambs, creepy smile on his face while he's, planning and plotting your demise. And the entire kind of speech that he gives as the Mandalorian and Cara Dune and Greef are hunkered down in the building is fantastic. I just loved it through and through. We see a flashback, the Mandalorian, we see him as a kid once again. There's more context to it. We see his parents kind of leaving him behind in this bunker. They get killed outside of the bunker, it seems. And a shadow kind of goes over the doors of the bunker. We don't know who's going to be out there. Neither does the kid, the Mandalorian, as a kid. It opens up, and it's a Mandalorian, and it looks like there's a bunch of Mandalorians coming in to save the day. That's how he becomes a foundling. That's how his journey begins. He's taken in, he's trained, which is interesting in itself. A lot of moral questions to be had there. Yes, Did they give him a choice? I'm assuming they did give him a choice to become something if he wanted to. He wasn't forced into this, correct? At least I hope not. If he was forced into this, it raises even more moral questions, right? But I don't think that's the case. Anyway, IG-11 comes over the intercom, and he's there to save the day. It's a over-the-top, just action-packed, balls to the wall, coming in hot with a speeder bike, and it's just an enormous firefight, and IG-11 is cradling the baby. The music intensifies, which more than any other episode, I think the music was more prevalent, at least that I found in this episode compared to the other ones. It was a cadence to what we were seeing on screen. I loved it. But the entire action-packed, IG-11 incoming on the speeder bike and hopping off and just blaster fire everywhere. It was so over the top and crazy, which made it a lot of fun. And, the Mandalorian and Cara Dune and Greef all get into the mix as well, and they do their part to try to put it into this. But something that I found really neat was, some of the behind the scenes stuff of The Mandalorian, you saw 501st members. And if you guys don't know, 501st members, the 501st is a charity organization. Man, look it up anyway. So The Mandalorian, the production of the show actually got a lot of 501st members, a lot of Stormtrooper 501st members to participate in this scene. I believe most, if not all, of the Stormtroopers that you see here, maybe not, the ones that are front and center, are 501st members. That they have their own armor. And it's kind of interesting because as I was watching it, I was like, it's stupid. It's a stupid thought. But I kept thinking to myself, they should have shown some of these guys how to hold their blasters. Because some of them are holding them so wonky. Some of them, to me, probably no one else, but to me it was very noticeable. If you've ever held, anyway, it just was very noticeable to me. Like it's kind of the same thing whenever I see somebody like salute in a movie and it doesn't look good, and I'm like, oh man, somebody probably should have taught them how to salute before they shot this scene, because that salute is wonky. Same kind of thing. Anyway, Moff Gideon says to burn him out, so this like flame trooper guy comes in and kind of shoots a flamethrower into the building. Baby Yoda is able to stop it with the Force. And right before that, the Mandalorian gets hit. He's hurt badly. He doesn't think he's gonna make it. And as the Mandalorian was hurt, I kept thinking to myself, like, why doesn't the kid heal him? He's healed so many things and people in this show so far. Is this gonna be one of those things where, why didn't they use the Force power here? But there was a little workaround to that because the kid, I guess, exhausted himself so much to kind of stop that fire from coming at them that he kind of passes out and falls asleep like he did in a previous episode. So yeah, the Mandalorian is very badly injured. They're going to leave him behind, but IG-11 sticks around to, I guess, help the Mandalorian. And there's a kind of a neat scene between the Mandalorian and IG-11 where the Mandalorian basically says, like, no living creature, nobody has seen me without my helmet since I was a child. And IG-11 says, I'm not a living thing. And it's just kind of, IG-11 takes off his helmet. We see Pedro Pascal laying there, and IG-11 heals him and gets him back to tip-top shape. It was a touching moment between Droid and the Mandalorian. I really enjoyed how they did that. So the crew goes down into the sewer. It's their only escape route, and their goal is to kind of link up with the other Mandalorians in the sewer. When they get down there, all their armor and stuff like that is just piled up into a big pile, and it turns out, when the Imperial remnant that was there kind of found out about them, and once they revealed themselves and ran them out, I suppose. That blacksmith is down there. She's kind of forging and melting down all the armor and I guess going to turn it into something. But yeah, the moments between her and the rest of the group, it's there for a lot of expository dialogue, right? We learn more about the Mandalorians as a people. We learn about more of their code. It felt very fantasy to me. It felt very Tolkien to me. And I'm not going to say that it felt out of place, but it definitely was a different side to this show than we've seen before, at least this heavily. Of course, we've seen these characters before down in the sewer discussing things, but this was way more information, way more exposition. So long story short, they make it to this lava river, underground lava river. There's a tunnel that leads out to safety, so they think. There's stormtroopers standing outside the tunnel. The Mandalorian has like a thermal vision, I suppose. He can see the stormtroopers standing out there, even though they're not visible to the naked eye. And IG-11 determines that for them to survive, for the kid to survive, he kind of needs to sacrifice himself. It's a no-win situation if you go out there running and gunning. So there's a touching moment here where IG-11 decides to self-destruct. And the touching moment is between IG-11 and the Mandalorian. He's turned a new leaf, and about droids at least. He sees that they're all not bad, right? It's all programming, I suppose. And the moment where IG-11 was walking through the lava, melting with each step, heavily reminded me of Terminator. And it kind of had the same feeling of it as well. A self-sacrifice for the greater good, right? In the Terminator, he was sacrificing himself for the future, so he thought. In the Mandalorian, IG-11 was sacrificing himself for the child and the future of the child. So I just thought it was a really great scene, really well done. Near the end, we see Moff Gideon flying over the Mandalorian and crew in a TIE fighter. He starts strafing them. One of my favorite lines of comedic dialogue of this entire series, and it's kind of a moment of hey, like a nudge, kind of a meta line to the audience, like hand wavy we get it. There's a lot of holes, but Greef says something like, let's make the baby do the magic hand thing. And he waves his hand and says, yeah, let's have the baby do the magic hand thing. It was funny. It was a nod to the audience. Hey, why don't we always use the Force, right? Why don't Force users always use the Force? That's how I saw it, at least. It was a fun line of dialogue, and it was a nudge, a nod to the audience. And then the Mandalorian blasts off with his newly acquired jetpack. He attaches himself to the TIE fighter, puts an explosive on there, brings the TIE fighter down. It was a really great scene. And after a little bit of saying goodbye to Greef and Cara and burying Quill, the Mandalorian kind of rides off into the sunset. At least I thought it was going to end like that, with the sunset riding off into the sunset, kind of like an old Western, but I'm surprised they didn't do that, honestly. At the very, very end, of course, Moff Gideon is still alive. Anybody could have guessed that watching this episode at the end. And he cuts himself out of the TIE fighter with a darksaber. Gideon has the darksaber. So it leaves off on a pretty fun twist there, a pretty fun foreshadowing of things to come. And once again, one of the most noticeable things at the end of this episode was the music. Oh man, it's so awesome. It's so fun. But anyway, guys, I thought this episode was a lot of fun. The way it ended wasn't that much of a cliffhanger, right? In my opinion. Obviously, the Imperial Remnant, Moff Gideon is still going to be on the hunt. The Mandalorian is still going to be on the run. So not much has changed, right? Not much has changed about their predicament, about their circumstances. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the first season, this final episode of season 1 in the comment section below. I think The Mandalorian is such a great, the first Star Wars live action TV show, and it's such a fun one to introduce live action TV to Star Wars. And you know, I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. I have a few friends that haven't watched it yet because they've been rolling their eyes at all the Baby Yoda memes because nobody can keep their mouth shut about shit on Twitter, and they say, things are already spoiled for me. Why do I want to watch it? And I think I keep texting them like, watch it, man. It's fun. You'll like it. You didn't like The Rise of Skywalker? Watch this. It's fun. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought. HelloGreedo, out.